learning, hopefully, and not headache attacks. So for this morning, I don't have any disclosure for this particular lecture. We have gone through the different types of primary headache disorder for the yesterday, and I think you're going to be hearing a lot of them also today. But let me walk you through to the rest of the primary headache disorder, mostly rare, sometimes common also, but often missed. So I will not go into the details of symptomatic secondary headache mimics because this will be discussed in the next succeeding sessions. But we will just go through the main primary headache disorders this morning. Okay, so based on the ICHD classification of headache disorder, the following are the primary headache disorders that deserve to have a distinct classification. So quite a lot for 20 minutes given to me, but hopefully easier to remember because the main characteristic is actually in their names. Okay. So they are actually divided into four major subgroups. Okay, so headache associated with physical exertion, under which you have primary cough headache, exercise headache, headache associated with sexual activity, and primary thunderclap headache. The second being attributed to direct physical stimulus, cold stimulus headache, external pressure headache. We have epicranial headaches, where primary stabbing headache is part, non-mular headache, and also epicrania fugax. And we also have hypnic headache and new daily persistent headache. So we'll run through each of them. So let's start off with the primary headache disorder that's associated with physical exertion. So first we have the primary cough headache. So in here, this is a classification based on ICHD-3 that they should have at least 2 episodes. And they're usually brought about occurring only in association with coughing, straining, or Valsalva maneuver. They are very sudden in onset, lasting almost immediately after the activity, after coughing, after straining, lasts between around 1 second to as long as 2 hours. Okay? So again, they're precipitated by coughing or other Valsalva activity, even by sneezing, blowing your nose, laughing, and crying. They're very sudden in onset, usually 1 second to 30 minutes at the most, but some can last up to 2 hours. The prevalence is around 1%, lifetime prevalence. And primary cough headache are the type of the headache that should happen after 40 years of age. Why after 40? Because we will have to consider possible secondary headache disorder if they occur before that age. Considering that subtentorial tumors normally accounts for more than 50% of patients in children, for which we will have to consider, so if they're occurring before 40 years of age. So again, using Socrates, which is the one that we are using for headache history to give it a better picture of headache. So they're occipital and bilateral, they're sudden, they age more than 40 years of age. They could be stabbing, sharp, splitting, explosive, or dull. They don't have any associated symptoms, which is actually very important. So right after the precipitant, they would occur. So sneezing, blowing your nose, laughing, crying, lifting weight, defecating, and stooping. So with this presentation, it's actually very important that if they occur for the first time, we will have to do neuroimaging studies and tests to rule out secondary causes. So this is actually very important for all these types of primary headache disorder. So the pathophysiology is increased intrathoracic and intra-abdominal pressure. So you would have sudden rise in venous pressure, expanding brain volume, and hypersensitivity of the pressure-sensitive receptor in the venous vessels. So normally, you don't treat them because they're actually very brief also. But in case that they become very frequent, the following may be given: indomethacin, propranolol, acetazolamide, and topiramate. Next would be the primary exercise headache. So this occurs around 1 to 2% of consultation in general clinic, and in a headache clinic, a little bit higher at 5.3%. The prevalence being ranging from around 12 to as high as 30%. And they are more frequent in males, 4 times more than that of females. And also, they're very common with patients with migraine history. So 50% of them would have migraine history. So ICHG classification states that they should have at least 2 episodes, brought on by occurring only during and after strenuous physical exercise and should be lasting less than 48 hours. So the difference between cough, exertion, headache, and this one is that this should be after sustained physical or strenuous activity compared to primary cough headache that happens immediately after the precipitant. Okay, so that's actually very important. So it is precipitated by sustained physical strenuous activity and normally happening in hot weather or high altitude. No? So prevention with ergotamine is noted, and also the response to indomethacin. They're 1 to 2% on incidence in consultation with general headache. So again, for primary exercise headache, it's always important that you will have to rule out secondary causes for which neuroimaging like MRA, MRI, and even angio would have to be done, especially on the first onset. For this particular type, they're usually for younger age group, no? They're very common 20s and 30s, so there should be less than 50 years of age. They are bilateral, and they normally would be happening after about 2 to 6 months of sustained physical exertion. So that's when they start to have this type of headache. So they would be needing prolonged exercise, and usually, as mentioned again, it's in hot weather and high altitude. So what's the pathophysiology? All this primary headache disorder that I will be discussing doesn't have a definite pathophysiology yet. However, the ones that I will be presenting are the ones that are hypothesized to cause this primary headache disorder. So they hypothesize it's probably because an impaired cerebrovascular autoregulation, where that would lead to headache through the aberrant vasodilation during and following the activity. So recent findings also have noted that they have higher prevalence of internal jugular venous valve incompetence to as high as 70% compared to 20% of controls. So this can cause retrograde jugular venous flow, thereby increasing pressure and thereby giving us headache. So of course, treatment, there will be acute treatment, prevention, and non-pharmacologic. No, for acute treatment, they respond with ergotamine, indomethacin, triptan, and metoprolol. Preventive, you can also give indomethacin and metoprolol, but more importantly, you will have to advise them to warm up before exercising, hydrate very well, and do regular training. So we don't advise doing training or physical exertion na bigla. So dapat palaging merong dahan-dahan. So most patients, you don't advise them that you ask them to do exercise and they do exercise for an hour when they're not even used to exercising for even few minutes before that. So this is going to be actually very important. Okay, so the next would be primary headache associated with sexual activity. So this is obviously precipitated by sexual activity in 1 to 2% of general population. So this is the type of a headache disorder that presents initially as a dull bilateral ache that becomes intense, no, at orgasm. So 40% becomes chronic over 1 year and more preponderant also with males, as 5 times more than that of females. The good news is they have favorable prognosis. Again, I will have to reiterate that for the first onset for this type of headache, they would be requiring workup to make sure you rule out secondary causes, a subarachnoid hemorrhage from subruptured aneurysm, reversible cerebrovascular constriction. You have to rule out masses or tumor and the like. So this should not be associated with any disturbance of consciousness, vomiting, motor symptoms, which is of course would be secondary headache problem na. So first onset, mandatory, exclude secondary cause. Number one common cause would be subarachnoid hemorrhage from vascular anomaly. No? So you can also have intra or extracranial arterial dissection or reversible cerebral vasoconstriction syndrome. No? Ang reversible cerebral vasoconstriction, for the first onset, it will be very hard to actually rule them out. No? Sometimes even the neuroimaging studies, mga angio, could come out to be normal. But by ruling, when they become multiple and repeated, no, you will have, most often, it is considered to be more of RCVS, more than that of a primary headache disorder associated with this activity. Okay? So that would be very important. So headache history, so as mentioned, it's dull ache progressing to intense pain. So aching siya, and the course is chronic over 1 year. So of course, the exacerbating activities will be the sexual activities. So averaging of 3 to 4 hours and can last to 24 hours. So pathophysiology, they have hypothesized that a lot of factors could be involved. So there's vascular, there's pressure, response to exercise, and contraction of facial and neck muscles. So this can all lead to actually the increased blood pressure and heart rate during sexual activity can increase in dilation of the blood vessel in the brain, leading to sudden headache. So the actual physical exertion during intercourse may lead to increased pressure inside the skull, triggering the pain. And of course, strain in the neck and neck muscles, contributing to the headache during sexual activity. So treatment-wise, they respond very well with indomethacin, beta blocker, topiramate, ergotamine, triptans, and erenumab. So this is a schema of diagnostic and therapeutic approach in a patient with headache associated with physical exertion. So what I would just like to highlight here, although it's a little small, no, is that whether they are a primary headache disorder or a secondary headache disorder, down the line, you can actually differentiate them already, but it will always be required that you do neuroimaging studies on them, specifically if they come when they have the first episode pa lang, because it's always very important to rule out secondary causes. So primary thunderclap headache is also under this classification. However, at this point in time, the studies and the evidences doesn't really point out to it being a primary problem, a primary headache disorder. Most often, it is secondary headache that would cause the thunderclap headache. So as always described, it's the worst headache ever. High intensity in less than a minute and can last for 5 minutes, at least for 5 minutes. So you always have to rule out secondary cause. So it's always thought to be a diagnosis of last resort. So kailangan mag-work up muna, magawa lahat ng possibility. If you are considering RCVS on the first test, it may be normal, but you might require to repeat it again if it's repeated because sometimes you can have a normal test, but on succeeding tests, lalabas na yung mga constriction that you would note down during RCVS. Okay, so this is the ICHD classification. So let's move on to the next category, which is the headache attributed to physical stimulus. So under which you have the cold stimulus headache. So they can be external application of cold stimulus, or the second being ingestion or inhalation of the cold stimulus. So you should have 2 episodes again. All of this, you would have to have at least 2 episodes of the headache for the reason that first episode, you're not sure because it could be a secondary headache disorder. So lahat po ito magiging 2 episodes before you say that it's a primary headache disorder. May be intense, short-lasting, or stopping, and normally frontal, temporal, or retroorbital. So it can also occur during exposure to very cold weather, diving in a cold water, or receiving cryotherapy. So this is the classification based on ICHD criteria. So the next would be ingestion. A cold stimulus headache secondary to ingestion or inhalation. So ito yung mga common na tinatawag natin, ice cream headache or brain freeze. No? I'm sure this is actually very common to as high as 40 to 60% in adolescent and in ages and more than 50% in adult. So sa mga adults, it's male and female, no difference. But in the younger age group, they have been observed that they're more common in males than in female. No? This is also more common in adolescent with migraine headache. So I'm sure in this group, I'm sure you've had experienced that once in your lifetime at the very least, right? So this is actually very common. So as soon as there's a passage of cold material in the palate and the posterior pharyngeal wall, instantly you would feel the headache. So medyo masakit na masakit yan when it happens, okay? So what do? Of course, you just have to try to avoid the stimulus. It would be helpful if you try to ingest or inhale what seems to be very cold in a gradual manner and hindi po bigla. Because the abrupt change in the temperature is what triggers this. And this normally resolves within 10 minutes after the removal of the stimulus. Okay, so this is the ICHD classification for WIT. So the most often, it's its forehead and temporal ang affected. It's stabbing. Usually no associated symptoms, although in 22%, some may have lacrimation, rhinorrhea, conjunctival injection, and flashing lights. So again, the timing is less than 10 seconds at the most for majority of cases, but sometimes For some cases, may 15 to 30 seconds, no? Exacerbating trigger, of course, cold stimulus. Pathophysiology is the rapid cooling of the mouth that stimulates the trigeminal nerve, and there would be vasospasm and muscle contraction. So what do we do? Warm off the roof of the tongue. So you can do this with the tongue, with warm water, so that you change the temperature, no? So you breathe through the nose because it warms up the palate as well, and prevent it by eating and drinking slowly, especially mga cold stimulus. Okay, so next would be the external compression headache, or external pressure headache, under which you have compression and traction. So by the name itself, it's either because of compression sa head, no? But this is a primary headache disorder because it's not supposed to be secondary to an actual disruption on the structure, no? But it's just because of sustained compression. So there's pressure on the nerve that's affected and usually responsive to analgesic. Pagka na-trigger yung migraine, then you can give migraine medication. So that's the same for traction headache. So ang pathophysiology is nerve compression, muscle tension, and inflammation. Okay, so the next one is a primary stabbing headache. So ito yung ice pick pain that is known to cause a really bad headache also, with the prevalence of 2 to 35% in general population. So 80% of stabs last for 3 seconds or less, and rarely that it would last more than that. So extremely focal, no, stabbing. So characteristic niya yung jolt, but they have a different type. So it comes either monophasic, sunod-sunod. It comes as intermittent, which is the most common type, or it becomes chronic, no. Over months, nagkakaroon ng mga episodes na may interval na normal. Pathophysiology, spontaneous firing of nociceptive nerve ending, hyperexcitability of the nociceptive nerve, and partial loss or dysfunction of the Schwann cells. So peripheral and central sensitization from repeated activation is also noted. So treatment, normally it's self-limiting, but if you would want for chronic daily occurrences, you can also give indomethacin. So non-Miller headache, ang prevalence is 0.03. Characteristic is continuous, intermittent, exclusively oval or round area, usually in the parietal, at 1 to 6 centimeter in diameter. So the area that is affected would have different form, sensation, either allodynia, hyposthesia, dysesthesia, or paresthesia. So this is the classification, the pathophysiology being localized, dysfunction or irritation in the small peripheral nerve endings. So it is sensitive or responsive to NSAID, gabapentin, pregabalin, TCAs, nerve block, and Botox. Okay? So the next one would be the hypnic headache. That's the alarm clock headache. And this one is something that we will have to differentiate from the one that was discussed yesterday, the cluster headache, because this happens only during sleep. Okay? So it should be more than 10 days in a month for 3 months for you to be able to classify it as a hypnic headache. So the prevalence is very low. It's kind of rare. It's 0.20 to 0.3, mostly for patients more than 50 years of age, more in females. Ang importante dito, differentiating it from cluster headache, there should be no cranial autonomic symptoms. There should be no restlessness, but it will wake you up at night. Okay? So it's bilateral most often than unilateral. Pathophysiology, they're saying that there could be some hypothalamic dysfunction. So treatment-wise, acute, ergotamine, opiates, O2, and triptan may work, no? Prevention would be caffeine at 200 milligram, lithium, indomethacin, melatonin, Botox, and occipital nerve block as well. So the last one would be the new daily persistent headache. So by the name itself, it's new daily persistent headache because it's a daily headache from onset. However, it doesn't have to be every day. By definition, they're considering one headache that is more than 15 days in a month, provided that they are present for more than 3 months, no? It's usually common in children, chronic daily headache in children at 35%. In adults, it's 2.5 to 10%. So ang pinaka-importante dito, normally they don't have any prior history of headache. So in this particular headache disorder, so dalawang types yan, self-limiting and refractory. And there are triggers. Now, the new thing about new daily persistent headache, you have to look into the history and ask more questions because sometimes this is secondary to post-infection, stressful life event, surgery, cervical spine joint hypermobility, and Valsalva maneuver. So by Rodin, meron siyang inintroduce the 3Ts model where you have to ask more questions for this patient. Ano ang triggering event? So you will have to specify, it doesn't have to be exactly at the time when it happened, but ang pinaka-distinctive characteristic of this type of headache is that they know the onset. They can identify the date when it actually started. You will have to ask the patient, weeks before that or even right before that, did they have any surgery? Was there any surgery that made them sit in a position that would cause cervical tension, no? So that would be one. We can do Trendelenburg response because with this, with just 1 to 2 minutes after you put them down, you should be able to identify kung meron silang increase or precipitant ng headache or decrease, by which you will have either intracranial hypotension or hypertension. So this is actually very important. I just would like to end by saying that the treatment will be dependent on it. Now this is classified as a primary headache disorder, but there are some questions because the pathophysiology or the possible cause could be secondary to some other causes by which there might be changes in the classification soon. So this is the treatment. So take-home messages, primary headache disorder that I have discussed are actually very benign in most cases, no? Except for the new daily persistent headache. But it is mandatory that you have to make sure that you rule out secondary causes for which neuroimaging are going to be very important. They're benign, some of them are self-limiting, and they are preventable with a very good prognosis. But they can be debilitating, thus they need to be recognized and treated. Thank you very much.